Howdy, y'all. Handy Redneck talking at you. Uh, According to the weather report, it's supposed to get down to 33 degrees tonight, which means a frost warning. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about weather reports because you really need to learn how to understand them. Weather reports, well, they're not an exact thing. That is a factual statement. They're based off of data, and they're a best guess. But something you need to consider about temperatures is where the thermometers are located that are providing the data, which allows a meteorologist to give a forecast. Now, with that being said, I'm not talking where in the county or the state or the country or wherever that the thermometer is at. We need to talk a little more local than that. We need to talk about elevation. Uh, Generally speaking, the thermometer is set somewhere between 6 and 10 feet above the surface of the ground. Okay, so if it's set 6 to 10 feet, we'll take the average of that as 8 feet. If it's set 8 feet above the ground, and the temperature at 8 feet above the ground is supposed to be 33 degrees. Well, we can take a scientific principle and apply it here that cold air sinks. So, that scientific principle says if cold air sinks and warm air rises, then at that 8 foot level, below that 8 foot level should be colder, and above that 8 foot level should be warmer. Now, when the temperature is supposed to get down to like 33 degrees, that's 1 degree above freezing. Right? What's the temperature going to be at ground level? Odds are it's going to be freezing. Yes, there will be minor variations between elevation 0 and elevation 8. And we'll say in foot increments, let's say there's a 0.125 difference in temperature. So at 8 feet, it's 33 degrees, and at 0 feet, with a 0.125 temperature deviation, that means at 0 feet, it'll be somewhere around, maybe a little below, maybe a little above freezing. Okay, so what's that mean? Well, that means we got to protect our plants. Generally speaking, plants have a tendency to be able to handle cold. And if you can keep them from freezing, they'll be all right. As you can see out here, I got all 4 of the garden beds plus the potato towers. I got them all covered over with plastic, and in that covered over area, we've got a gap, an air gap. Well, the ground in those raised beds will actually stay heated longer throughout the night, and it'll keep the air in that area above the plant warmer throughout the night. Which so maybe we do get down to freezing, but because that air is an insulation mass, or an insulator around the plants, it will actually keep them from freezing, because it's the whole concept of wearing bulky layers of clothes. You wear in the winter. You wear a bulky layer of clothing in the winter, and it's not so much what's in that bulky layer. It's how much air that material can hold to keep the cold further away from your body. So if you were to take 6 inches of brick, or 6 inches of feathers, and use them and check the temperature from one side to the other, as long as those feathers aren't compacted into a brick shape, as long as they're bulky and everything, but that 6 inches inside there has all that air in it, then you get a good thermal barrier. Same with windows. The reason multi-pane windows, double pane and triple pane windows, are so energy efficient is the air, or lack of air in the windows case, because many of them are usually have a gas, or are under a vacuum. That gap creates a space that heat can't easily be transferred through, because believe it or not, hot and cold do not transfer well through air. That's just a simple fact. Put your hand over a burner 2 inches above it and hold it there. And you can hold it there and you can feel the heat, but you're not getting burnt. Well, set a metal pan 2 inches above that burner and let it sit there, and then put your hand on that metal pan, and you'll be burnt. Why? Because you don't have the air to protect you. Anyway, just wanted to let you see from earlier that I did get the plastic on the corn at the end there, way down there. The beets, sprouts, have theirs, and then the tomatoes have had theirs for a long time, and they've been down to 33 degrees before already, so we're not too worried about them. And then over on the far end, we've got the carrots and the turnips and the kale and the Brussels sprouts and whatnot, and they've been down to that temperature before, and they're not an issue. We've got the potatoes in their tater towers over there. I'll do a more in-depth video when I build the next tater tower, starting you off from just the cage all the way up through the build. But they've got about 3 to 4 inches of straw around the soil in that tater tower, so they'll be all right. And then as for the balcony boxes up here, well, these balcony boxes up here on my porch, well, they're about 12 feet off the ground. Somewhere between 10 and 12 feet off the ground, so I don't think we'll have to worry about them getting too damaged. The kiwi here, or kiwi berry to be more exact, is starting to leaf out. It's been hit by cold spells before and lost its leaves. I ain't that concerned with it if it loses its leaves, because I've seen what happens. It just puts on new ones. So we ain't too concerned. I did, however, move my buckets into the house overnight. I've been doing that primarily because I can, for one, but they are at that level, somewhere between the 6 and 10 foot level, where cold air could affect them. So instead of trying to plastic over them and protect them, it's just easier to move them in the evening and move them out in the morning. You know, it's not that hard. So anyway, this here's been a handy redneck. I'll talk at y'all later.